5 seconds to go. Start. The decisions in Rudul Shah and Chandrima Das established that a public law action seeking monetary compensation for violation of fundamental rights was no longer an action in lieu of a private law claim, but was to serve an independent and more important purpose. However, it cannot be ignored that the decisions of courts to award compensation in such cases proceed on the basis of lower evidentiary standards as noted by this court in Kumari vs. State of Tamil Nadu 1992 to SCC 223. In Tamil Nadu Electricity Board vs. Sumati Das 2004 SCC 543, this court held that exercise of writ jurisdiction would be inappropriate where there were disputed questions of fact that required proof through substantial evidence. However, it has been clarified that the restriction applied only to the higher judiciary writ jurisdiction under Articles 32 and 226 and that it did not restrain this court's power to address the matter under Article 142, which allows this court to pass any order necessary for doing complete justice in any cause or matter. Therefore, this court has recognized that factual disputes could operate as a limit on the court's ability to treat a matter as being actionable as a constitutional tort, but has nevertheless awarded monetary compensation in certain cases, possibly having regard to the glaring facts of those cases by exercising power under Article 142 of the Constitution. Scholarly views suggest that the concept of constitutional tort challenges the ability of law to deter socially harmful behavior of different kinds by forcing the perpetrator to internalize the costs of their actions. However, in case of a constitutional tort action, the entity saddled with the cost is not the same as the entity who is to be deterred. This absurdity is stated to be threatening to the corrective justice idea that tort law embodies. In other words, an actor's direct ability to alter the injury causing behavior is critical to the foundation of tort law. However, given that an action of constitutional tort imposes the burden of damages on an entity other than the violator of the right, a doubt has been cast on its effectiveness in serving as a vehicle of corrective justice. In light of the aforesaid discussion, it is observed that it is not prudent to treat all cases where a statement made by a public functionary resulting in harm or loss to a person citizen as a constitutional tort. Regard must be had in every case to the nature of resultant harm or loss. Further, it is to be noted that even the cases cited herein above have permitted treating an act or omission as a constitutional tort only where there has been an infraction of fundamental right as a direct result of such act or omission. Therefore, the causal connection between the act or omission and the resultant infraction of fundamental rights is central to any determination of an action of constitutional tort. In Delhi Jal Board versus National Campaign for Dignity and Rights of Sewerage and Allied Workers 2011 8 SCC 568, this court refused to entertain a matter against an interim order passed by the Delhi High Court in a writ petition whereby the petitioner board had been directed to deposit compensation in favor of the family of a sewerage worker who had died while performing his duties. Dismissing the case, this court held that since the deceased had died due to insensitivity on the part of the state apparatus to the safety and well-being of its employees, the state would be liable to pay compensation to the family of the deceased. This court invoked Article 142 of the Constitution to enhance the amount of compensation payable. At this juncture, it may be apposite to sound a word of caution as regards the approach of the courts in granting monetary compensation as a means for vindication of fundamental rights. It is to be noted that in the absence of a clear, cogent, and comprehensive legal framework based on judicial precedent, which would clarify what harm or injury is actionable as a constitutional tort, such a device is to be resorted to only in cases where there are brutal violations of fundamental rights, such as the violations that were involved in Rudul Shah and Chandrima Das. This court has acknowledged such a view by noting that compensation was being awarded in the said case, having regard to torture, the agony, and the mental oppression which the family of the victim therein had to endure due his death by an encounter. Similarly, this court in Bhim Singh stated that the compensation was awarded by taking note of the bizarre acts of police lawlessness. As already highlighted, compensation was awarded in Delhi Jail Board by exercising power under Article 142. Thus, the remedy provided is on a case to case basis on an evolution of the concept of constitutional tort through judicial dicta. While it is true that the courts must mold their tools to deal with particularly extreme and threatening situations, and the device of a constitutional tort has evolved through such an exercise, it must be borne in mind that the tool of treating an action as a constitutional tort must not be wielded only in instances wherein state lawlessness and indifference to the right to life and personal liberties have caused immense suffering. Stop.